We heard from him in court. He answered yes twice to confirm he understands his rights and he has seen the federal complaint against him. The judge, who's Judge Parker, is reviewing the charges in the complaint. So as this first appearance gets underway, as we expected, the judge is now explaining the charges to him. Luigi Mangione answering yes twice to the judge, confirming he understands his rights and he has seen the federal charges against him. His attorneys would have shown that to him. They met with him right before the court proceeding, and now the judge is going through that process with him as we would normally see in a first appearance. But this is quite different than most cases, than anything we have seen, certainly in quite some time. To your question, Boris, the notebook is a key piece of evidence here for the FBI and for federal prosecutors. From what they lay out in the federal complaint, there is new information, and that new information has to deal with the planning that went into this, the entries that Mangione made in October talking about this. Then again, in August, where he wrote about how he waited to do this, that he's happy he procrastinated because allegedly it gave him more time to learn about things. The other thing about the notes is the focus and how he allegedly talks about the insurance companies and also talks about, there's one very striking quote in the pages of the notebook, in allegedly Mangione's handwriting, where he writes the word whack, and it's quoted as the word whack, W-A-C-K, allegedly referring to the CEO and saying how he would do this attack at this conference. So key pieces of evidence for prosecutors. But I thought that word was just so striking, to hear that word, to see that in that complaint. And again, the complaint really talks about a lot of the evidence that the NYPD had gathered. That evidence is now in the hands of federal prosecutors and the FBI. And the other thing now, these charges are much different. Look, certainly the state charges were very significant. He was facing life in prison, but now he's eligible, because of these federal charges, he could be eligible for the death penalty. That is a decision that will be made, far down the line during the Trump administration under the new Attorney General, who will have to personally make that decision. So certainly a long road ahead for Luigi Mangione, now that he's facing potentially the death penalty. In terms of the state case, we'll see where that goes, and if he really ever appears in a state court on those murder charges.
Shimon Prokupecz live outside the federal courthouse in New York. Please keep us up to date with what's happening behind closed doors. Again, cameras not allowed inside the courtroom, but we do have reporters there in the room. Let's dig deeper on this now with John Miller. He's a CNN chief law enforcement and intelligence analyst. We also have Misty Maris, a trial and defense attorney. Thank you both for being with us. Misty, first to you. I'm struck by the fact that Mangione changed out of that orange jumpsuit, and he's now wearing street clothes, apparently dressed kind of a bit like a prepster. He's wearing like a white button-down shirt, a navy pullover, khaki pants. Why would his attorneys have him change before going into federal court?
Well, this was very interesting today because the federal government generally doesn't do what we call a perp walk, but that is what we saw happening from that helipad all the way to the courthouse. So it's likely that his attorneys made a request that he is able to appear not in that orange jumpsuit. Part of that can be to avoid prejudice down the line. Very often, that type of thing can matter, that they don't want the person to be viewed as guilty before stepping into trial. It is absolutely an attorney's request that was made, that was granted by the judge in this instance.
And John, talk about this perp walk that we're watching here. It was extraordinary.
Well, it certainly is a spectacle, but it was one by design. First of all, you have the NYPD transporting him from Pennsylvania. They are met there by the FBI, who is going to take him into custody and accompany him to that U.S. magistrate's courtroom where they're going to talk about the charges he's facing. But you also have a really unusual defendant here, who is someone who usually when they surround somebody with this kind of security and protection, It's because they feel that somebody may try to attack them for what they have done. In this case, the security around him is really for the opposite, which is they believe that there is so much support that they've seen online and additional calls to free Luigi, that they wanted to have a phalanx of people, a motorcade with its own emergency service team with long guns in terms of a counter-assault team, motorcycles to clear the route so that nobody tried to free Luigi.